Slides from last week?
Oh, it's like the last one.
Ugh. Good morning. All right. Thanks, bud. Okay, what do we have? How's the tech look? Is this working? It's working. Now for the scary part. Am I going to break this? Oh my goodness, it looks like it's going to work. Good morning. I'm Tony Farrar from the Mechanical Engineering Department, and I look for ways to meet human needs with software. Thanks for coming today. I am super excited. Before we launch into our regularly scheduled programming, I have more guests to introduce you to. First off, Rob McNamee, from the Innovation Entrepreneurship Institute. Wow, look at that. All you had to do was wave. He'll be giving us some guest lectures and guiding us through some interesting experiences as the semester goes on. But today, for your inspirational pleasure, I have Andrew. I'm going to botch this, buddy. I have Andrew, the founder of Habitat. I'm not going to ruin the punchline, but the short version of his story is that he, while a student here at Temple, started a business largely based on an app, and he's here to tell you about that journey. So we'll start there and then pick up. I've got two mics for you here, one for our stream and the other for the room.
Okay.
All right, let's see if you can see it there with all the tech. Sorry about that. That's the one for the room.
Okay.
And pockets.
Fancy.
Yeah, man. And oh yeah, this is the part everybody really watches for. Let's see if we can figure this out.
Okay.
And pockets for those. Clicker here, laser beam if you want it. I think
laser
this
beam.
is all going to work.
All right, let's see. Let's give it a whirl. All right. So, what we got? Nice. So I'm curious, does anyone know about Habitat at all? 1, 2, 3. Cool. So, when we... Clicker's not working. It's okay. Can I just... Great. So just a quick summary of what I'm going to be going over is our story, some of the key founder traits that have helped us along the way, and answer any questions you guys might have. So here's our team. We're all from Temple. Woo! So all met during our college experience. The two software engineers were both in a band that I lived with. It was a good time, sophomore year. And then Alex, he looks miserable, but he was another one of my roommates another time. And really, the reason we've been able to be so successful is because of the team. And I really drive on that. If you have a good team of guys or girls or people, it goes a long way. And when we first started, we started with this really big vision that we wanted to be the local marketplace for anything. We started off with an app that looked like Instagram, acted like Craigslist, only for college students. We launched it, and after a whole month, not a single transaction happened. So, launched to crickets. Tried a bunch of things. Couldn't get anyone to really use it. We had maybe, 20 posts. Nothing sold. So then my co-founder and I, we went out west. Went to a tech conference, in Vegas. And when we were there, we met a lot of investors, founders, and we knew we had to pivot. And so what we pivoted to was Caviar for Campuses meets meal plans. We were really frustrated with the campus meal plans. J&H, wasn't a lot of fun. Is J&H still? Yeah. Still sucks. Okay, great. So we hated J&H, hated wasting our parents' money. We're like, all right, let's make meal plans for all the food trucks and restaurants on campus and consumer behavior. And the most important thing we learned is that you can't really run a business with 8 months of revenue and 12 months of operating overhead or expenses. So some strategies, though profitable, just don't scale well. It's a pretty good meme. All right. And then what we found was that we were going to restaurants and they were saying, hey, I don't want another tablet. And we're like, what's wrong with another tablet? I'm shelling out like $200 here to give you a tablet, and you don't want another tablet? Well, we found that for restaurants, more orders were tough and expensive for them to deliver internally, and it was also tough for them to manage their internal workflow. So having all these different tablets at the front of their restaurant. There's a lot of early movers in the space. I'm sure you recognize some of these logos. They all came to market and educated restaurants of the value proposition of we're going to send you more orders to your restaurant. And as a result, companies like us came along and said, hey, we'll handle your logistics. So the solution, in a nutshell, it's called Delivery as a Service. Customers, they order from Grubhub, they call the restaurant, etc., and we give them one tablet and one delivery fleet for all their orders. And that's what it looks like. So single dashboard, high value for the restaurant. We're a real partner. We're inside of the restaurant. And just as of recently, I know this is public, but we've partnered with 2 large online ordering companies so they can send orders into our dashboard as well, which is exciting. And now I know this is a technical crowd, so here's a little bit more of a technical slide. So essentially, orders are coming into our system. They'll hit our Orders API. From there, it'll hit the vendor dashboard and then go into dispatch. So from the dispatch, we have to manage all the deliveries that are happening. Sometimes there's 60 at a time. It gets really crazy. And then send status updates back to the ordering companies. Order gets accepted. And then once the order gets accepted, it pings StaffJoy, which is what an open source staffing platform we use. Which tells us which runners are on and accepting deliveries. And then from there, we'll get it delivered. So we pivoted from this consumer model to the delivery as a service model between January and February. When we made that pivot, we went from $1,400 to $5,000 in revenue, and we were like, we got something here. We knew we had product market fit, which is kind of a jargony word, but it's something you guys might build apps and you might have a steady flow of users, but when it hits, it hits. Like it works when it works. It's hard to explain. There's not like a binary way of knowing when you have it. You just know it when you see it, kind of thing. So then we had to really re-engineer the tech platform before we could really scale. And then in the summer, we started adding restaurants, which is this blue line here. And since then, we've been growing like a weed. So as far as my advice, if you're going to start something, you're going to start a tech business, just take the jump, all right? But there are sacrifices. I've lost touch with a lot of my friends. I mean, for a long time, I didn't talk to girls. Like, it was like 2 years. And then I ran into my girlfriend, or who would become my girlfriend, randomly. Your weekends are the same as your weekdays. It all blurs. You don't really have off. You're not off on the weekend. No more late nights and getting food at what's the place? Is it still You Got Munchies? Or does that change? Oh man, what's it now? What's the late night spot? Whatever, you guys can fill in the blanks. Anyways, and I have empty pockets. I'm really broke, So you got to get used to that. But if you can get used to that, great. And you have an idea, awesome, take the jump. But remember, your idea is not that special. Someone else has your same idea somewhere else in the world. I know I used to think like, oh, my idea is, so awesome and, secretive. I'm not going to tell anyone. Wrong. Like, you want to share your idea with everyone, and that's the only way you get feedback and improve that idea. So I'm always a big proponent of, if you have an idea, share it with people. They're not going to steal it, and if they do steal it and they move faster than you, tough. You shouldn't be able, if you're really passionate about something, you'll be able to move fast enough. So there's 5 core traits that have helped us along the way. So delusional optimism, everlasting paranoia, impulse control, shameless persistence, and level-headed. So these can be considered traits or values. But to give you an example, we won some big competitions here in Philly, won a ton of free money. It was great. But we've lost a lot more. And it's a lot, people don't really see all the losses, but here are just a few losses, and we lost a lot more than this, trust me. So we used to enter a lot of competitions. But it's entering those competitions, and then once in a while you get one that hits, and then the team's like, shit. Thank God you're entering those competitions. Then everlasting paranoia. So this is a quote I think about pretty much every day. So success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive. If you're just happy with where you are and happy with growing by 5% every month or less, you're failing. You got to move faster. And then there's impulse control. So what's this crowd like? Are you guys seniors, juniors, sophomores? Freshmen. Awesome. Great. Well, when you graduate, you're going to have this nice shiny job at the end. And then that job equals an apartment, car and security. If you want to, be a founder, you're going to end up having no guarantees. And so it's being able to understand that and not go for that high-paying job, sacrifice, because when you're young, you don't really have many responsibilities. Our total burn as a company is $15,000 a month. That's the size of most households, like when you have a family and kids and a mortgage and all these things. So when you're young, I really would encourage you to, take a step back, not go right for the job, and go after this stuff. Shameless persistence. So one example is, so the StaffDroid was the open source staffing company. So my co-founder, he's the smarter one. I'm just good at making friends. He was friends with the guy from StaffDroid, the founder CEO who was technical, and they went out of business. And we were like, shit. We just wrote to their whole API. We had this whole integration for our whole runner staffing. And so they went out of business, but my co-founder was able to loop him into essentially writing the whole integration for us, just from asking for help. You got to ask for help. You never know what someone might say. Then there's the taco suit example. So we used to be a consumer app, and no one wanted to wear the taco suit. I was like, come on, guys, the taco suit, you're going to get a lot more downloads with the taco suit. So I wore the taco suit. And then the very next day, Alex wore the taco suit. So, you got to be able to just kind of drop your ego, not worry about it. And then the last one for us is level-headed. We've ran out of money 4 times as a company. People weren't sure how they were going to pay rent, or get by. And so it's really important that you can remain, keep a level head, and just know that you'll work things out. You're going to have a lot of internal battles. I sleep like a baby, but that's it. Any questions? Come on, don't be shy.
You're always broke. Why do you keep doing it?
Because we're making money and we're creating value. Our restaurants, they rely on us for all their deliveries. So when it's snowing out, we're doing deliveries. We have a business that's real, it's live, it's physical. Our runners, a lot of our runners rely on us for their sole source of income. So if I just want to give up, now I'm letting families out to dry, really. So I'm not going to give up. And I'm just a really persistent guy. I don't know, can't stop.
Is your dispatch automated, or is that some dude sitting at a computer?
It's a great question. So it is some dude sitting at a computer, because when you have 60 concurrent orders, and some drivers might have 3 or 4 orders at a time, you have to make sure that driver has the perfect order. And to build a computer system with that, with all the variables, so you have, pickup time, drop-off time, you have food type, you have distance, and distance is really in time, not in miles. So there's all these variables that are involved. So we're slowly, right now we're building a shadow algorithm that can basically track the dispatcher's actions, and then that'll eventually take over once it's smart enough. That's a good question.
So Andrew, you went from a consumer marketplace to a consumer food delivery to a restaurant infrastructure solution, and it sounds like the driving force has always been identifying problems and sort of pivoting to the bigger problem. Talk about how you recognize those opportunities or those problems.
Yep. It's interesting. It's one of those things where you really have to be in the market. Whoever your main customer is, for us it's restaurants, you have to figure out what are their pains. And you don't want to come out with a Band-Aid solution. You'll know quickly. Another way to sense that you're solving a real problem is if that restaurant doesn't have your product. Does he feel pain? And if there's pain there, you're solving a real problem. Does that help? Come on. We're not profitable yet. We're getting there. We're close. We should be at break even in about 2 months. We've been able to raise money so far from investors that have kept us going. We're getting very, very close to profitable. We're practically break even now. We should be there in 2 months, but it's tough because then there's ramen profitability and then there's real profitability. So ramen profitability is enough to make the bills pay, but you can only really do that when you're a young company.
How long did it take for you to do market research and figure out
I think the best way to do market research is to be in the market. So it's not like really a matter of time. It could take you might find the problem you want to solve in a day. It could take you years. So I didn't really have a good answer.
How old were you when you first had the idea, and how old were you and your team when you guys actually put it out there and started trying to get people to use it?
This is 21. My girlfriend just broke up with me at the time. And I was like, why'd you break up? And so I'm trying to think. So right as soon as we started, I was all in from the get-go. And then I was trying to recruit a team. It was really tough. I was able to find a couple of developers at meetups, and they worked out for launching the first version of the student marketplace. My co-founder was completely self-taught developer. Was actually a business student at Fox, MIS major, an entrepreneurship major, and he's just a really smart guy, brilliant guy. So he was able to self-teach himself. But at that point, that was 3 years ago. So we've been doing this full time for 4 years. Myself, the rest of the team was 3 years plus. So the other Temple guys. And we've. Yeah, undergrad. So I was a junior in college, doing it on the side, but full time. I was going at it. And then we launched, let me think, we go back. So this year, we were in college all during our beta year, right here. So no, not there. That was more recently. But yeah, when we were doing like 600 and we thought we were hot shots doing, might have broke it. So that's when we were all in college. And then we didn't graduate until a few months after that, in December. You harass them. No. You kind of just get out there. I kind of make it a point, if I get the sense that someone's an investor, I'll follow them out to their car. I'm aggressive. You go to different events. So like for me, I've gone to New York City for a few investors, and I'll look for like a food event where I know that investors there are interested in food and food logistics. All the investors who have invested, though, the biggest piece of advice there in terms of actually getting investors to write a check is I send out an update every 2 months to over 200 stakeholders, and that's what most of our investors came from. The investors don't invest in, hey, I like you, I'm going to write a check today. They know you for usually close to a year, if not longer. They see you're making progress, and they're like, okay, I'm going to write a check.
How do you deal with competition from national companies like Uber Eats?
So we like them because as they get bigger, so do we. So over 60% of our deliveries are Grubhub deliveries. We're not doing Uber deliveries, but for any of those companies like Uber Eats and when the restaurants that Grubhub does delivery for, they have this huge radius delivery territory, and so they're only really doing 1 to 1.5 deliveries per hour per runner. And that's where we're able to differentiate. So we'll say, hey, we're only focused in zones. We'll sign up a lot of restaurants in that zone where the densities and logistics make sense. And that's how we compete.
You were saying earlier the competition in this space, the consumer delivery actually was part of what drove you to look for another part of the ecosystem you could play better in.
Correct. So all the restaurants were frustrated. So right now, a lot of those competitors are now, sending orders right into our dashboard. Because they know that restaurants don't like the pain of having another tablet. So we're really symbiotic with the big guys.
When you're grabbing an investor going out to his car, how do you hook them in?
I just charm them,
Do you have an elevator pitch going on?
It depends on who you're talking to. You kind of get a sense of. You try to get a sense of who they are. You ask about them. You always, whenever you're selling anything, you want them talking 70% of the time. If they're talking 70% of the time, they're buying. So get them talking. Tell them a little bit of what you do, smile, and just charm them. I don't know. You got to pretend you're the hot girl at the bar. Come on. All right.
How do you ever still get scared? Like anything really bad happen financially?
Does who get scared?
How do you ever get scared that anything really bad will happen financially?
It's kind of like it is what it is. Like this weekend, I was with my girlfriend, and some shit hit the fan, and she's like, "Aren't you worried?" I'm like, it is what it is. We'll figure it out. You kind of get to a point when excuse my language, but once you eat enough dog shit, you get really used to it. That's kind of the best way to describe it. That's a level-headed component I was talking about. As long as you keep that keen level head, especially your team. If your team sees you're flustered, then they'll get really scared. When we ran out of money once, and it was for 2 months, we didn't have any money, it was getting bad. The team was freaking out. I'm like, guys, give me 2 weeks. And we were able to lock down some money, thank God. But it's all about just keeping that level head.
Advice for folks that are thinking about launching an app and they think they're immediately going to get 10,000 users, what's the process like of trying to get users of an app and eventually getting paying users?
Yeah, you're not. No, it's you might. It's a really long shot. The Facebooks, the Googles of the world are they don't happen often. The Snapchats. I think that you really have to think about revenue and how are you going to have a reasonable path to revenue. This isn't Silicon Valley. This is Philadelphia. People aren't giving you money just for an idea on a napkin. So you gotta always think when you're starting an app, what's the revenue upside? I'm not just gonna make money from ads because you need to have a huge user base for that. You really gotta think of the practicality. Also, one of our engineers on our team is a big game developer. So if anyone's developing games, I'm sure he'd be happy to give you guys some advice on that, on how he's been successful with building games that generate sustainable revenue. But it's tricky. I mean, there's no silver bullet, so to speak. I would definitely try to make sure you're solving a real problem, and if that user base doesn't have you, are they going to be like, what am I going to do without Angry Birds today? I don't know. You gotta think about that. I think you had a question?
Yeah, it sounds like you went from a business to a consumer product to a business to business product. How did that change like the ability to add on users? Like, was it harder on the consumer product?
It's so much easier now. Now we just go to a restaurant and we're capturing all their customers.
And a second part, did that change your marketing strategy or budget?
Yeah, so we don't spend any money on marketing right now. The only people we have to market to is runners. We're really just going to a restaurant, walking right up to them and saying, hey, I'm here to solve your delivery headache. I'm here to solve the giving you peace of mind, a fixed cost per delivery. Right now they're paying Uber Eats 30% margins. So it's really just now it's just sales, door-to-door sales. And it's a lot of fun. I don't get to do sales enough, but it's a lot of fun.
What's a normal work day look like for you?
There's no normal.
What are you going to do right after this?
Right after this, I have to meet with the lawyers, which is always fun. So today, for example, we're working with another Temple entrepreneur. Have you heard of Simply Good Jars? Anyone? Maybe? So Temple guy, MBA student, used to be a chef. He has these jars. You go to simplygoodjars.com. Pretty cool. And subscription where you can basically get these salads in a jar. Really cool salads like chimichurri beef. And we deliver them. So this morning we're doing 24 deliveries. We're sending 3 different runners to do all the deliveries. Batch model. So that's today. And then the lawyer stuff. And then I'm working on getting some stuff out to investors. And it's no 2 days are ever the same. Just good and bad. I don't really have much stability from like a personal life standpoint. But luckily, I have a family that supports me, and a girlfriend that's nice. Any more? Great.
I think one more follow-up question that I'd want to ask is what it was actually like to lose all those competitions and keep moving.
It's fun.
It's fun. It's fun, he says. Okay.
One thing is, I think you have internships available.
Oh, yeah, so I forgot.
Oh.
Oh, my God, was I
What?
thinking? Oh, man.
This is the most important part.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
It's,
Hang on here. We
okay,
can
that's the smarter
swipe
way.
along here. Where are we going?
I'm going to the last slide. I go
This one?
right there, yeah.
This one?
No,
No?
right here.
That one.
Okay, there we go. So yeah, anyone for us? So actually, interesting enough, everyone on our team, including my co-founder, actually started off as an intern. And after working for the company for 3 months with the internship, there's actually classes at Temple where you'll get academic credit for it. They came onto the team. We've had a lot of interns who didn't work out, so we look for people who can actually go above and beyond. But everyone who's working for the company today, and we have 7 people now, all started off as interns. We really like people who like data, who like logistics, like the physicality component of what we're building, the tech-enabled labor, and like to have fun. So if you're interested, don't be shy. I'm just Andrew at tryhabitat.com, and I look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks again. switch gears a little bit on you here. What's over here now? Not what I wanted. Where'd that go? That's okay, we can... Hey, thanks again. So, there are parts of starting a business that go smoothly and lots of parts that don't. I think for me, the most interesting takeaway from this was to not be quiet about it. I don't know if any of the things that caused them to pivot were things that they would have been able to sit there and with a Google search and a blank piece of paper been able to forecast. Right? They tried something and it worked. And it's interesting to me, who wouldn't want a Craigslist mostly photo-based just for college students not trying to rip each other off? Who wouldn't want that? And yet, lots of pivoting and trying things and sending it to the market, that's where this really goes. And that's the point of this class. You're not necessarily tasked with walking out of here with a successful business, but you might take the first step by trying, right? And it would be really interesting 4 years from now to have somebody come back and tell the story of how they graduated with a business instead of a student loan. It wasn't me, but it could be somebody, right? Which brings me to the most important thing that I'll tell you all day. Please use your TU email address when you do your HackerRank assignments. Any questions? Which email address should you use when you do the HackerRank assignments? Cool, and over here? Cool, and over here? Thanks, y'all. If we've had slow responses on grading, this is why. So please use the email address that starts with TU and then some stuff. Thank you. This is not going to play with us today, I guess. Okay, so next question for you. Take a quick poll here. How many of you feel that solution manuals are fair game? I don't really have them for this class, but for your other classes. Yeah? Why? Yeah. Because you can learn from your mistakes from the solution. So you you like to work the problem, and then if it doesn't go, then you refer over to the solution manual. And how do other people use them? Yeah. I can't hear you. Sometimes it's just like a really small thing, and if you jump to the solution manual, maybe there's a way to have it knock that one thing loose. Yeah.
When you say solution manual, do you mean like how like Code Academy does it? Like if you can't figure out after a couple tries, it kind of gives you the answer and shows you how to work it out?
I'm thinking a little bit more download a PDF that's got the full solution written out. There are some websites that end with 2 Gs that those types of things. So I feel like the interactive stuff from Code Academy is more a hint, right? It's kind of how it's built and designed. I guess you could button mash that and get it to give you every answer, though, but it's a big waste of time. Yeah. Might even more useful. Okay. So it's kind of like working with somebody else. It's like having another brain in there. What's that?
I was going to say, like, I've had professors that are really poor at teaching, and then TAs that are equally as poor at...
So if you're not getting stuff from the professor that you need, or if you're not getting stuff from the TAs that you need, maybe the solution manual is a good place to go. This is an interesting debate to me. I actually failed a class in undergrad. I failed dynamics. I think most of you will have to take that at some point. And I blame solution manuals, but what I really blame is laziness, right? So there's this interesting thing that I realized, that my approach to doing homework was how long does this have to take, right? My goal was to be done with homework because I didn't want to be doing homework. Who likes homework? Yeah, there's a couple. Okay, it took me a while to get there, and it's because I didn't understand it for the longest time. I think that the reason that we have homework is to put us in an environment where we have to learn something. And the interesting challenge that we've run into now is that some people are better at designing homework experiences than others, right? I'll tell you, when I first started teaching, my strategy for creating homework assignments was to go to the textbook, open to the chapter end where the questions were, and pick the questions that I thought, man, if somebody knew how to answer those, then they'd know this topic. What's that sound like?
Boring.
It sounds like boring. Okay. To me, it sounds like an exam, not homework. So my encouragement to you is this. If you find yourself working on problems that feel as though maybe they're an inappropriate level of challenge, maybe you didn't get to start easy and work your way up, to stop and get some help if you need it, right? And maybe delay going to the solution manual a little bit, because the thing that you actually learn from is wrestling with the topic. And so my version of using a solution manual was to straight up transpose it, and I learned nothing except how to read other people's work, right? And so I found myself coming up really short on exams. On the other hand, using them as a tool, maybe to unstick the logjam, it's almost like virtual office hours. Yeah, I get that. So just play careful there, because if you go too far the other way, it ends up hurting. And at the end of the day, there's a really interesting thing. Nobody cares about your grades. You may feel like they do. And there's this computer system when you graduate and start applying for jobs that is going to filter you by this number. And it's really frustrating, because I think we just haven't figured out how to really use computers for the whole job hunt market yet. We haven't figured that out. But the truth is, we don't want to know how good you are at gaming a syllabus into getting points to clear some threshold to have some GPA. We want you to actually be able to do something, right? He's not going to hire you for an internship because you got A's on my homework assignments. He's going to hire you for an internship because you can write the code. And so if you're one of these people, like I was, who's constantly chasing grades, consider maybe shifting perspectives a little bit towards the learning competencies, learning skills, learning new mindsets, because that's why you're really here. I don't really know why that was on my mind today, other than to the fact that we're kind of in this weird grind right now, right? We're not quite to midterms where everybody's freaking out and cramming. We're not quite to, we're not still at the beginning of the semester where everything's new and fresh and exciting. We're just kind of in the middle. Now it's just time to sit down and do some work. So, I don't know. Maybe this helps, maybe it doesn't. Thanks for talking to me about it. How about that? So, this week, now that we've torpedoed a little bit of my plan here, Friday, Code Sprint number 2, we're going to talk about loops and arrays. If you haven't seen those yet, that might be a hint on to which modules to go after. Okay? So on Wednesday, I promised to show you a lot about how they work. Come prepared to play. We're going to have some fun. And today, I wanted to piggyback off of what Andrew said and give you guys a bit more on how it is we meet human needs with code. We started here with this idea that our computer could be viewed as a thing that takes inputs and turns them into outputs by some black box. A little more specifically, I'm really mad that my clicker isn't working today. Why is that? I feel very badly for hiding behind the... Whatever. Okay. Wow, that's flattering, isn't it? Computers do exactly what you tell them to, and apparently I've told this one to do something not very useful. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I planned this, practiced at 17. This worked, by the way, all day. That one we'll go with. Whew. What the points were was, just so I sell these right. In our modern economy, being open and caring about other people's needs is how you win. That was the first one. The second point was computers at their base are nothing but ones and zeros that are pretty stupid. And they're only capable of doing what we tell them to do, even when it's make a crappy slide. And so, therefore, let us tell them to do good things. What kind of good things? Well, meet needs. And so what I wanted to talk about as we wrap up today is ask the question, what is it that people need? Any ideas on what people actually need? Yeah. Human connections, okay. What's that? Maslow? Oh, it's like you've got clairvoyance. That slide's coming. Who else? Yeah. Food and water, okay. Uh-huh.
Clickers that work.
Clickers that work. I'm still holding it like a talisman of hope that it's going to... People have physiological needs. These are things that without which the machine that is our body would not function, right? Food and water are two of them. Air, certainly one of them. Protection from the elements, right? Today might be able to get away with a t-shirt for a little while, but last week maybe not. Next we have safety. What are some ways that we want to feel safe? Yeah.
In our own homes.
Safe at your home, right? Safe that you have some space that's kind of yours, right? Yeah. Financially safe, right? Knowing that the bills are going to be paid, that you'll be able to go to the store and get the food to satisfy the physiological need. Yeah. You want to feel safe on the internet, right? So that might be part of a broader idea of being like socially safe maybe. But then there's the financial side too, right? Of having your identity hacked and stolen. We don't want either of those. What else? Yeah. Emotionally safe, right? We want to be in a place where we can express ourselves, feel our own way. We want to not be beat up. Whew. Social needs. We have a desire to feel like we belong. How are some ways that people meet this need? Apparently we don't. We sit in rooms like this. Yeah. Social media, right? Interesting, right? Lots of time spent liking and commenting and reposting and things. And how many of you have ever had the experience of having something that you thought was like super funny or really great picture or whatever it was, and you shared it and then you were just glued, waiting to start seeing the likes and the comments tickle in, right? Have you ever done that? Is it just me? Okay, there's like 3 of us. The rest of us should just... People be damned. I share what I want. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe they're lying. Related to that, but a little bit higher up in the needs hierarchy, is this idea of esteem. Not just to be respected, but accepted and valued. We do things because we want people to be impressed. There's a portion of what's going through my mind every time I walk up here of just hoping that you'll think I'm a good speaker. Why? Just because I have this esteem need. In addition to, needing to complete my job of getting ideas into your brains. But what are some other ways that people might explore this need? What do you do to impress people? How about that? Yeah. Okay, so kind of we work on our reputations. We want to be known for something like follow through. I say I do something, I do it. Huge. What else? Yeah. We try to dress well. This whole thing, by the way, is a strategy. Look a little different, but not too weird. What else? oh, wait, isn't this engineering class? Where's the equations? I know. And then the highest one of all, self-actualization. This is the need to feel like we have accomplished what we're actually capable of accomplishing. And this is the hardest one because you can't really lie to yourself about it. One way that you might do that is by coming to a place like this and earning an engineering degree. Another way might be like climbing the mountain in this stock photo with this person we don't know who's staring off into the distance, looking impressive. Turns out Maslow put all of these together. It's been a little while, but basically the research showed that these things kind of stack on each other, and the highest is this. And if any of these parts aren't working, then people feel frustration or some flavor of pain. A few minutes ago, Andrew said that the reason his app finally started to take off was he identified a place where people actually felt pain. And then he offered the Band-Aid for that. I think at the top end of all of this is this concept that we're constantly trying to do more than just take care of ourselves. I would like there to be a memory of me, if I were hit by a bus today, that went beyond paid his bills and ate enough food to survive until that day. Right? I would like to have somebody say of me that there was a meaning to it all, that I did something, that I made some impact. And I think, whether you're willing to admit it to yourself or not, that's one of the reasons rattling around in your brain that you've chosen engineering. And so as I wrap up today, I think this is about it, I'd like to remind you of your mission in this class. Your mission in this class is to identify a need or a pain point and then start asking questions about how you could meet that with code. If you flash all the way back to the beginning of this semester, the first day, I shared an example of solving world hunger by fixing a traffic problem. That's your challenge. In the next few weeks, we're going to be going through the process of coming up with the idea for your project. And it's going to be founded on the idea that we find a human need that we can meet. And so log this away in the back of your brain, and as you walk around for the next couple of weeks, notice when something frustrates you, when it frustrates somebody around you. Take half a minute and sit down and watch people go through the turnstile at the entrance to our engineering building, or order food at a restaurant, or whatever it is, and start making notes of those, and it'll help your company get things going. We're going to stop there today, and we'll get a little bit more technical on Wednesday. We're going to figure out how loops and arrays work. Thank you for your attention, and thank you for coming today. Have a good one. Okay.
I actually went here for a different degree, so I've been
here
for years.
Yeah.
And two of the kids in that company used to play at, I used to throw house shows, and their band used to play at my basement.
Really?
Like, I know those
You
guys.
know them. Oh, that's wild, man.
I didn't know Andrew, but two of his, I don't know if you know Andrew at all.
Yeah.
Was that the first time you met him?
That was when I met him.
Okay, yeah, no, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, the entrepreneurship folks have been helping me kind of make friends and meet people, but that's awesome.
No, so you should reach out. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, they were good.